All right, now I'm gonna head on over to LinkedIn, make sure it's showing live on LinkedIn. It's a little bit lagged sometimes, but I just want to make sure it pops up on LinkedIn before we start talking.
Cool.
If anyone is watching this out there, please leave us some comments. Let us know if you can see us and hear us. And Bobby, you should be able to see the comments. If you click on the comments tab on the right, I think you can see them on your end, hopefully.
Yes. Okay, I don't see it. Hold on, let me see. Join the chat.
If not, I'll pin the ones. If I like pull comments on to talk about, I'll pin it to the screen and you'll see it. Okay, we've got some comments coming in. Okay, I see us live on LinkedIn. Perfect. I think we're all set up.
All right. Excited to be here.
Yeah. Everyone tell us in the comments, where are you calling in from? I'm from Athens, Georgia, so about an hour from Atlanta. Where's everyone else at? And Bobby, where are you at while everyone's typing in their locations?
I live in Bethesda, Maryland, which is just outside of Washington, D.C. I grew up out here, so just moved back out here. I used to be in San Francisco for a long time.
Wow, cool. I never meet people on the East Coast because I feel like everyone's in San Francisco. So I'm always happy to find East Coasters.
Yeah, we're now all over the place, exactly.
Yeah, remote work. Cool. We've got Los Angeles, Utah, Nigeria, New York, India, people from all over. Wow. While we're kind of getting warmed up, everyone go take a second and follow Bobby on LinkedIn. I just posted his link in the chat. And everyone type what your job title is. So what are you working in? Are you in data analytics? Are you in finance, operations? Are you a founder? It's a little bit lagged on StreamYard sometimes. So we're still getting locations coming in, but it looks like we have a lot of engaged people, which is awesome.
It's cool to see people all over the world.
Yeah, it's super cool. I love LinkedIn. I love the community and getting to meet people from all over. It's really special.
Yeah, really grateful, Jess, for you having me on here. This is it's fun to get to share our story.
Absolutely. Okay, we've got plenty of data people, sales operations, marketing, an engineer in finance. Oh my gosh, I see Kate is here. I don't know who Samuel she's talking to actually, but I pinned this comment. I know Kate. Oops, didn't mean to pin that one. Okay. All right, well, I think we have a pretty good crowd, so we'll get going and then we'll kind of cap what this call is about maybe halfway, just so people join late, they're not super confused. But I'll do my intro first. So I'm Jess Ramos. I'm a senior data analyst at Crunchbase. I'm also a LinkedIn Learning instructor. I have 2 courses out, preparing to get a job in data analytics, and then my new intermediate SQL course. So go take those if you haven't taken them already. I also create content on LinkedIn, of course, Instagram, and TikTok. And then I'm also streaming this to YouTube right now. So I don't know if I can say I post on YouTube because I streamed one thing to YouTube, but I'll count it. And today we're going to be talking about software as a service and moving quickly in your career. And then we're going to learn more about Bobby and his career and how he has gotten where he is now. So Bobby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thanks again for having me on. My name is Bobby Pinero. I am the CEO and co-founder of a company called Equals. You can find us at equals.com. We're building a next generation spreadsheet. We've been doing that for about 2.5 years now. And we've raised great money from great investors, including Kraft and Andreessen Horowitz. And we've got a bunch of fun, engaged, excited, happy customers. So grateful for them. And then before that, spent a decade as an analyst myself. So Equals is in large part the tool that I wish I'd had in my time as an analyst. And I spent 8 years at a company called Intercom, building out finance and analytics there. So I joined that company when it was 20 people. saw it go from less than $1 million in ARR to almost 200 million in ARR by the time I left. Was involved in every board meeting, raising almost $200 million, every fundraising process. And so got to kind of see what it was like to build a company from the earliest days all the way to, $1 billion plus valuation. So excited to be here, excited to share my stories.
Yeah, that's incredible. And if anyone has questions as we go, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll pick some to pin and answer kind of as we go. And then we'll also have some time at the end to answer questions. So what was it like being at Intercom from the very beginning with a very small team and then scaling it to, I think you said 200 million in ARR a year? That's like a ginormous change. And I feel like that's so special to be part of something so small and see the impact that you can have in a company and watch it go from like the little leagues to the big leagues. So just what was that process like for you?
It was, it was outside of Equals, starting Equals, it was the most incredible part of my career. And, got to meet a lot of great people, got to see the really kind of magic of the early days. But we can talk about all sorts of tactics of like what it's like to grow a team, what it's like to go from, joining a company when it's 20 people to seeing it be 700 people and all the different phases that you have to go through as an individual. But I think the thing that it really opened up for me was, you just, when you're in, I was 25 when I took the job to run finance and analytics at Intercom. And then I was thrust into board meetings, thrust into fundraising and pitching VCs and things like that. And in a lot of ways I had kind of it was just a scary proposition. It was just like, I was put into situations where, I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself and I didn't have a lot of, I was just almost like beyond my kind of pay grade. And I think the thing that I learned was when you're put into those types of situations, you actually start to ask questions about yourself. You see, why do I doubt myself? Why am I uncomfortable in this situation? And when you start to ask those questions, then you start to learn just kind of how to overcome those things. And you learn that you can do those types of things, and you learn that you can overcome those challenges. And so the thing that I'd recommend to people is just whenever you are in your career, just go towards those things that make you afraid. Go towards the projects that make you feel a little bit uncomfortable. Go towards the things that make you feel unsure of yourself or where that doubt kind of arises, because those are the opportunities where you get to kind of see and challenge yourself and grow and see why you feel uncomfortable and then kind of overcome them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely taking notes right now because I'm in my 20s. So I'm eating all this up. I can totally relate to that. I think those times where you're being challenged the most and you have the most imposter syndrome, those can sometimes be the biggest growth opportunities. So do you feel like being 25 in those board meetings, do you feel like you were just doubting yourself because of the imposter syndrome? Or do you feel like other people kind of put that on you and maybe looked at you as a 25-year-old?
I think a lot of it was myself. I mean, the things that I learned to overcome were just getting to a place where I felt like I actually belonged and I knew that I could do the job. And so the things that when it started to click for me was, hey, actually, I know Intercom's business better than anybody else. I've studied this thing. I do all the work that's necessary to, to make sense of it. I spend nights and weekends trying to figure it out. And so I know this thing, again, about as well as anybody else. And so it's that moment where you start to feel like you really do belong in the room, that's when it started to change for me. But you can't really get there until you kind of are conscious of that feeling of, hey, I'm actually not sure. Should I be in this meeting? Do I have the wherewithal, the knowledge, the courage to speak up? Can I answer these questions? And so for me, it was a journey and kind of just building that confidence and knowing that I belonged in those meetings and that I had something to say.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting with such a sentimental note in this stream, but yeah, I think that's really good advice. And I think a lot of times when people are younger or earlier on in their career, they doubt themselves and they think, I got lucky, I don't deserve to be here. I definitely feel like that all the time, and that's something I talk about on LinkedIn a lot. I'm like, holy crap, how do I have this audience on LinkedIn? I'm a LinkedIn learning instructor. Like, how did I get here? But you have to always remember that you're in that spot for a reason, and there's always going to be a bunch of people who believe in you, even when you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just reminding yourself that you've worked to get to that point and that you have, one of the things I always reminded myself and is just, we like to think that what we do is like really, really complex. Understanding a SaaS business, it's not rocket science. You can sit down and like you put in the work, you do the analyses, and you can start to you can wrap your head around it. And so just reminding yourself that if you do the work, you can show up and you can have a meaningful impact, and then you belong, and that you belong in those rooms, and you belong kind of running those companies.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were fundraising, what type of data were you working with? What types of questions were you answering? Can you walk through that process of fundraising a little bit?
Yeah. So when you're fundraising at Intercom or at Equals?
At Intercom, and then you can also transition into how it helped prepare you for Equals as well.
Yeah. So at Intercom, a lot of it was it's just a typical SaaS metric. So SaaS, there's a great article if you're not familiar with SaaS. There's a David Scott article. It's just SaaS Metrics 2.0. It's the holy grail of how to understand a SaaS business. SaaS is just software as a service. So it's a model of selling software that's mostly subscription based. And so there's a key set of metrics as SaaS software companies that you put together. And so everything in a SaaS business is understanding the return on investment for the product that you're building. The dynamics of a SaaS business are that you're investing in building a product and you're investing in acquiring customers before you get a lot of the revenue for that customer, because your customers are paying you on a subscription basis. And so you pay to acquire a customer, and then that customer pays you back over time. And the whole basis on which an investor is investing in you is how quickly and efficiently can you acquire those customers, and how profitably are you over time going to get that money back. And so when you're fundraising, the whole thing that you're trying to do is explain to investors that you can, one, grow, you can acquire more customers, that there's a massive market in front of you and you know how to go find those customers. And then two, that you can acquire them profitably over the long term. And so everything that we did from a metrics perspective was trying to showcase, how do we acquire customers? How much do we pay to acquire those customers? How do they retain? And then how profitable are they over the long term? And what does that mean for then the long-term profitability of the business?
Yeah, that's awesome. And for anyone listening, Crunchbase is an example of a SaaS company as well. SaaS, I think, is a really interesting place to be in because you're tackling like these growth metrics, you're tackling conversion, you're tackling retention, because you not only want to bring in the customers and grow the business, you also have to convert them into paid customers if you start out with a free trial or free version, and then you have to retain them in the long run. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about mistakes from SaaS companies a little bit later, so I don't want to get ahead of myself. But what advice do you have for people who might feel like they're stuck in their careers because you have moved so quickly through your career, being in board meetings at 25, moving into leadership managerial roles, and then starting a company? What advice do you have for people that might feel stuck and want to follow in those same footsteps?
Yeah. The two things that I found kind of most helpful for me in my career, one was just a mindset shift. And I tried to approach, even when I was in just an analyst role or kind of an IC type role, every analysis I did, every project I did, every piece of work I did, I tried to approach it as if I was the CEO of the company. And what that does is all of a sudden you just approach this project differently. You think about it more holistically. You think about, you pretend that you're the person that's ultimately responsible for making the decision that you're going to have to drive. And so it makes you think about it from all different angles. It makes you talk to all different stakeholders. It makes you come up with a recommendation. And then you have to sit there and think, okay, is this recommendation right? Like, I am the person that would ultimately make this decision. And if I am, you're not passing the buck. You're not saying, here's my recommendation, somebody else is going to make the decision. This is a decision that I would make if I was sitting in the role of the CEO. And so again, you're just much more comprehensive and kind of thoughtful about how you approach an analysis and then how you ultimately present the recommendation. So that's just like one mindset shift that I kind of recommend folks to take on. And then the other thing that I did just tactically is, and this is, I think, useful if particularly if you're feeling stuck, if you don't feel like you're getting the types of projects that you want to take on, or if you feel like you're kind of getting overlooked. What I maintained always in my career was something I called the overheard list. And it was just a page in my notebook. And what I'd do was run around the company and I'd listen in meetings. I'd, at lunch when we were working in person, happy hours, in just random conversations with other employees. And I just listened for things that people said that I didn't know was true, or there was no basis of evidence for. And so you'd hear in a meeting, somebody would say, oh, I think our most profitable customers come from this region buying this product. And nobody had any evidence to support that. So I just write that down in my overheard list. And I'd go and I'd see if I could figure out if that was true or not. And I'd write down who said it. So it was like, okay, the director of sales said this. Go answer the question. Go back to that person and say, hey, I heard you say this in a meeting. Actually, that's wrong, or that's right for this reason. And then all of a sudden what happens is you start to be seen as this person that's proactively answering questions in the company. And then that director of sales is like, oh my God, Bobby just answered this question for me. He gave me like all this evidence for this thing that I believed for a long time. And now I'm going to go take that to my VP, and maybe I'll invite Bobby to the meeting so he can present the thing. And it starts to snowball. And then the VP is like, oh, can you answer these other 3 questions? And then all of a sudden you get projects that you weren't otherwise getting assigned to you. And then you're seen as this person who's kind of proactively bringing insights into the company. And when people see that, then they're like, oh, whoa, that's cool. Bobby's doing that. Let's amplify that. Let's give that person more resources to go do more of that. And so you kind of have to think about yourself as like this, like, it's almost like being kind of like a startup-y founder person within the company. You're like trying to go find projects for yourself, trying to find work for yourself, trying to find ways where you can proactively offer up insights and opportunities. And so for me, just a very tactical way I did that was with this thing called the overheard list.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And I penned this comment here, the overheard list. So everybody write that down, take notes here. You really can't get any numbers past Bobby because he's going to go fact check you. He's going to go get the data and tell you if you're right or wrong. So don't make up numbers in meetings around Bobby. But for real, I think that's awesome advice. I think a lot of things that stood out to me. So taking ownership of your work. I really like that you said you want to act like you're making decisions as the CEO. So take ownership of your work and make sure you're doing your work with pride, make sure it's accurate, and be ready to like make those decisions and be able to pass on those recommendations to stakeholders, not just here's the analysis, you make the decision, but provide recommendations. And then the second thing that stood out to me was being proactive. So instead of reacting to all these stakeholder asks, going out there and making the work for yourself, making yourself a valuable asset. Even if you're not given the most interesting and important work, go do it yourself and make yourself a valuable asset for the company. And then the third thing that I really liked that you said is building trust with stakeholders in leadership. So being able to get them to trust you as an accurate, reliable source of information. Yeah, so I think those are all really great ways to build leadership within a company.
Totally.
All right. If anyone has any questions on anything so far, drop them in the chat. So this might be a little bit of a juicy question, but you've built out a big team and really grown as a leader within Intercom. We'll come to equals a little bit later, but you've probably hired and fired a lot of different people. What types of qualities stand out to you when hiring or firing people? And you can speak to ICs or managers, just all people you've hired and fired. And also for people that don't know, IC stands for individual contributor. So that's like people like analysts, data analysts, people that are like doing the work versus managing.
Yeah. On the hiring front, I mean, it's a lot of what I just said, right? It's, it's folks, I look for folks who are going to come in and take ownership over their work, who are going to act as if they're the CEO, who are going to go in and, be proactive in solving issues, discovering things, trying different things, not being afraid to fail. Those are absolutely 100% the people that do well working for me, and the qualities that I look for in individuals. I think one of the mistakes I made in hiring, which I then corrected, was I think that a lot of folks when they hire are afraid to hire people who either have more experience than them, or who are more senior than them, or who are maybe much, much deeper and better at a particular thing than they are. And I think that one of the things that I learned to like as a way to scale as a leader in a company is you just have to let go of that. You have to be willing and ready to hire people that have more experience than you, that can go way deeper on a specific topic than you can. And your job as a leader is not to do their job or to tell them how to do their job, but it's to actually empower them and to, help them find the right place in the organization where they can have the most impact. Your job as a leader is to actually bring the information from the rest of the company and help them unblock them, but actually let them do the thing that they're actually excellent at. And so for me in my career, what I try to do now is hire people who are just way better than I am at specific things. And the way you do that is you actually go hire people and you tell them that you're partnering with them. They're not working for you, they're working with you. They are, they're here to build this thing alongside you. And again, your job as a manager and as a leader is to help them shine, be their support system, put them at the forefront, make them the star. And so I think a lot about that when I hire people who are excited to take that on, people who are just the absolute best at what they do. That's really important to me. And then on the firing front, I mean, I think the things that, the things that I've learned are, it's all, never let somebody go fast enough. I think that you tend to, when it's not right, it's not usually not going to work out. I think it's really important to be like clear and communicative. But I think for me, it's kind of, are people owning their work? Are they being proactive? Are they really invested? And effort more than anything else is what I look for.
Yeah, and I love what you said about if it's not a good fit, like there's no point in waiting, I guess. But I was going to say the other side of that. I haven't been fired. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I've been on the side of going into a position and knowing immediately that it's not a great fit, culturally, the job itself. And I left that job in 4 months. I talked about it last night on a LinkedIn Live. It was a very difficult decision and experience for me. But sometimes when you've got to like do the right decision for you and the company.
Yeah. And vice versa, right? Like if as a company that it's not the right fit, it's also not in service of the individual to keep them around. Now you give them an opportunity to improve and you tell them where you want to see more. But if it's not going to work, then it's also oftentimes the best thing for them to go and find another place where their skills might be better aligned.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Let's see. We have a few questions here. So, as someone who is a fresher or a new person in the data world, what would you say should be the primary focus when looking for a data analyst role? Maybe you could speak to hard skills and soft skills.
Yeah. I think we tend to overemphasize on the hard skills on the data analyst side, especially if you're somebody coming in the early days. I think I'm a big advocate of if you want to work in any technology company. I think an analyst, I use that term broadly. There's data analysts, there's finance analysts, there's sales ops analysts, marketing analysts, even accountants to a certain degree are like analysts of some varieties. I think SQL is an obvious skill that you should start to develop. But I also think like I got my first analyst job outside of, I worked at IBM for a couple of years, but then I got my first analyst job in a tech company without knowing any SQL. You can learn SQL in a couple of weeks if you just put your head down and kind of get into a SQL database and take a couple courses. And you can learn the basics of how to read query a SQL database in a couple of weeks. The thing that I would really emphasize is trying to develop your understanding of how an actual business works. That's where you're actually going to be the most effective as an analyst. If you're able to come in and be curious about how, like if it's a SaaS company, that's what I know the most. So do you go and read, like this blog post I mentioned, the SaaS Metrics 2.0? Are you going out and understanding how unit economics works, how LTVs get calculated, how CAC gets calculated, why those are important, how a software company runs? That's what's like, if you can learn that and wrap your head around that and talk about that, I promise you'll learn all the hard skills on the job. You'll figure it out. You'll learn how to make Excel work. You'll learn how to make SQL work. You'll learn how to, if the company uses Tableau or Mode or Equals or whatever tool, you'll figure it out. For me, it's, are you curious about how the company works, the business works? That's how not only will you get your foot in the door, but then that's also how you're going to really have the most impact once you're at the company.
Yes, I totally agree with all of that. And we had one question about people without as much or someone from a non-technical background, how they can break into the tech industry. And I think Bobby just answered that question right there. So understanding the business domain and being able to leverage your past business domain. So if you come from a certain industry, if you find a company in that same industry, it's a little easy to transition. So we've spent most of our careers in SaaS. So anytime I interview somewhere, I'm always targeting SaaS companies because that's my background. And I'm able to name drop, oh, I've worked in SaaS fintech companies. That's my specialty. And just being able to leverage that domain really helps open the doors in interviews.
And one thing I'd add there is when I was interviewing early in my career, one mentality I had was, and this applies for really any job that you're interviewing for, but I always tried to do one thing in an interview that would make me stand out from everybody else. Something that the interviewer would be like, holy shit, remember that person that did that thing? And so I'll give you two examples. One, I remember the very first job I was interviewing for out of college. It was at IBM, and I went and I memorized, this is silly, but like I memorized every C-suite leader's name, their background, every board member. And I just went into an interview and I like recited them. And it was like totally useless, but like I guarantee you I stood out. I remember them saying afterwards, they were like, you stood out because you did something that nobody else did. And then another example, I remember the second job after IBM, I went into the interview and they hadn't asked me to, but I just built a whole model in Excel on how I thought their business worked. And I was in the interview with the CFO and he was just asking me some questions about how I might model something. And I was like, oh, hey, actually, I just brought my computer and here's a model I built for like how I would actually model your company. And again, just go above and beyond, do something that stands out because it not only will they remember it, but that's also the mentality that you have to be in when you get the job. You got to keep doing things that stand out.
Very true. And I think standing out is almost more important even at like in the startup SaaS world, because some of these companies are smaller, earlier stage companies. So the relationships between stakeholders are a lot tighter. And ultimately, people want to work with people that they like and they want to work with. So if you're able to like do the research ahead of time to go memorize every executive at the company and their background, like it shows that you care, it shows you want the job, it shows that you've done your research and taken the time to do that. So I don't know, I guess you don't have to do that, but doing something like that is a great way to stand out and show that you really want the job.
Yeah. And then it shows me, like, as if I'm a hiring manager, it shows me it's like, that's what that person's going to do when they have the job. They're going to do something. They're going to surprise me when I ask them for something. They're going to surprise me on to the degree at which they deliver whatever it is that they're being asked to do. And so, you do that in the interview process, but then you also do it once you join the company.
Absolutely. And I got my first SaaS data analyst internship by using a similar tactic, not the exact same method that you used, but just by standing out. I was at this informational session in grad school, and there were a bunch of fellow students there with me. So we all had similar backgrounds because we were all in the same grad program. It was hard to stand out. I was the one who stayed after the conversation. I introduced myself. I said, I really want this job. I'm so excited about it. And then after, I went on LinkedIn, of course, and I had to do my networking on LinkedIn. I DM'd both hiring managers. It was great to meet you. I am so excited about this role. I can't wait to learn more. And only 2 people got interviewed. I was one of them, and they chose me. They said that they could tell that I wanted the job and that I knew how to think and problem solve. So definitely stand out, and it'll really make a difference in your interviews. But now that we've been kind of talking about SaaS companies, I know you already explained what SaaS is. Maybe do you want to just recap what a SaaS company is really quickly, just in case some new people joined? And
Yeah.
then we can talk about some of the biggest mistakes that you've seen in SaaS companies.
Yeah. SaaS company, again, is it stands for software as a service, and it's software that's sold as a service subscription online, something that it provides you a service. You purchase it on the internet. You usually pay in a subscription type fee, and it's really emerged really over the last decade plus as a main model for selling software. And then some of the mistakes. I mean, I'll give you just a mistake that I made since starting Equals, and I think it stems from just I think a lot of us try to look at other businesses and emulate exactly how we see things from the outside. So you look at companies like Notion and Figma and Airtable, and you look at the success that they have, and you try to apply that success to your own company. And so we at Equals, I remember we launched Equals probably about 14, 15 months ago. We launched with a lot of fanfare, very successful launch, a lot of hype. We did well for 4 or 5 months. We were onboarding customers manually. We were doing this kind of like high touchy sales type process, and it was working. And we did that intentionally. We did it because we wanted to get to know every single one of our customers. We wanted to, we knew the product was early, and so there were some issues, and we wanted to make sure that people understood that, and we were close, and we built a relationship with them. And so we kind of onboarded them, like I said, manually. And then we and we did well. And then we looked at all these other companies, and we said, hey, we should do what other companies are doing. Equals kind of fits the mold of what a Figma is, or what a Notion is, or what an Airtable is. And so we decided to completely upend our go-to-market motion, change the way that we sold the product. We introduced a free tier, thinking, oh, if we make Equals free, all of a sudden, way more people will sign up. We'll blow up our market. And, we're just going to absolutely take off. And the opposite of that happened. We saw actually much lower engagement. We saw less people sign up. We saw less people make it through the funnel. And, one of the lessons, and then we've reverted since, and we've seen things recover, and learned a lot of lessons along the way. But I think the main one, I give you 2 things. One is I actually think for a lot of products, free doesn't work, and free doesn't work where, you as a company are better off introducing more friction in your sign up process, and you're actually better off trying to capture somebody's excitement for trying to get into the product, to get them to do the things that you want them to do, set up the product in the right way, get connected, pay, start a trial, all those fun things. But then the second thing is just, it's really rare to get something working in the startup world. And so really just trying to build on the things that are working for you, as opposed to trying to look at other businesses and emulate what they've done. Do the thing that is working for you and try to understand that, as opposed to try to be something that you're not.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of good lessons in here. I think it sounds like with the freemium version, you're kind of casting out a really wide net. So you're just trying to collect anyone who will come try it out. And then I would guess that your conversion and churn, those metrics probably suffered from that, because maybe you're not bringing in as high quality leads. You're bringing in just anybody and everybody. And then those might not be the right customers who really need the product and who are willing to convert to a paid user. And then, as you said before, being on a subscription model, a year later, those customers churn, and then you end up bleeding money.
Totally. Yeah.
All right. Let me see. So, what made you want to start Equals? What was the transition from being in a 9 to 5 and then starting your own company as a founder? What was that transition like? And then what problems were you trying to tackle by starting Equals?
Yeah. I think for me, starting Equals was, it's the ultimate kind of expression of my creative self. And that to me is that's what inspires me and gives me a lot of energy every single day. And when I'm at my best at work, it's because I am trying to bring a lot of, trying to inspire, I'm trying to create, trying to build, trying to help people, trying to build something that makes other people better at their jobs. And so for me, when I was leaving Intercom, I remember I had the safe and easy path for me was, I had offers to go and do the same thing that I did at Intercom all over again. It was like, go join a Series A company, be the 20th employee, build finance, build analytics. And a lot of people were pushing me to that, right? It was like, hey, you've done this before. Oh my gosh, VCs we want you to come join this company, or other CEOs, hey, come join my company. You've done this. I want that experience. And, a lot of part of me too was like, I've done this before. The second time will be easier. I'll get it right. I'll correct all the mistakes that I made. And I remember sitting there and I had an offer from a Series A company, and it was a great company and great investors, and it's to be their first finance hire again. And I was weighing that and starting Equals. And the way that I make these decisions for me is like, where do I get the most energy? What excites me? Where do I see when I just sat there and I was like, okay, let me sign this offer letter, or let me think about starting a company. And people have told me that starting your company is, way riskier. You're probably going to fail. You'll make way more money on this other thing. And it just didn't light me up, the like going and being the first finance hire again. Like, it felt like there was like a little part of me that was dying. And not to say it's wrong, but like there was just a little part of me that wasn't going to get to be expressed. And so for me, being a founder and starting Equals was like, that's where my energy was. And just follow that. Like, if you follow that, how can you go wrong in your career if you keep following the thing that gets you energized? And so that's kind of, that was my story. That was my journey. And then with Equals, it's just been continuing to kind of try to inspire, try to create, be playful, be joyful, give people something that's fun, exciting, different. And as long as I feel like we're doing that, then, that comes first, and then everything else will kind of fall into place.
That's awesome. And everyone, real quick, I just dropped Bobby's LinkedIn in the chat and a link to Equals if you want to sign up for a demo or just check Equals out a little bit more. So go follow Bobby and check out Equals. And I think we can go ahead and do the demo. So we are going to get, if you want to start sharing your screen, and I can touch or click the right setup button, I think. Let me know when you're sharing what it looks like on your end, and then I think I can change the layout on my screen.
Okay, I am shared, so I think I see it here, yeah.
Okay, I think this will do it. Nope, that's not right. I have to add this screen. Okay, I think we have it.
Cool. Yeah, I see it.
If y'all in the comments, let us know if you can see the screen. It looks like a spreadsheet, so let us know if you can see that. I did not test this with Bobby beforehand. It's my fault, so hopefully it's working.
This should work, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll take it away. This is Equals. Equals, like I said before, Equals is a spreadsheet. The whole thesis behind Equals is actually the spreadsheet's correct. The spreadsheet is the best way to do analysis. And what we're trying to do with Equals is build the next generation spreadsheet. And so we've done, Equals is very similar to Google Sheets and Excel. It's intended to be familiar. It's intended to be a tool that you already know how to use. So you'll see here, like all the formulas are the exact same as Google Sheets and Excel. So I can sum if, I can index, I can match, I can VLOOKUP. All the formulas, you could literally copy and paste a formula out of Sheets or Excel into Equals and have it work. And then this is all browser-based, so it works the exact same way as Google Sheets does. You can add somebody to a workbook, give them read-only permission, give them edit permission. We could all be in this working together. It's fully collaborative, just like Sheets is. And you can comment and all that fun stuff as well. So it's a spreadsheet. It works pivot tables, conditional formatting, sorting, filtering, all the things that you're used to. So the way that it's different, the real magic in Equals is two things. One, you can connect to different data sources. So Equals is natively connected to 30 plus different data sources. So I can come in here, I can connect to a Snowflake database. I come in here and connect to QuickBooks. I can connect to Xero. I can connect to Stripe, Salesforce, Google Analytics, AdWords, Facebook ads, Mixpanel, Segment, Amplitude, all sorts of different connections, all of that natively in Equals, and you can access those data connections with SQL. So all of them you can write SQL against, or you can use our visual query builder, which just lets you select tables and columns without writing SQL. So what I'm going to show you here is a little dashboard a little analysis I've created for a startup. So there's a bunch of different summary tabs here. This is just a fictitious startup. Here you'll see I've got an ARR build. So this would be like a revenue tracker. This would track our monthly ARR across the company. This is coming from a Stripe instance. You can see what our new ARR is to what our expansion, contraction, churn, restarted ARR is. All of this, again, coming from Stripe. We've got a little cost of goods sold. So this is basically what it costs you to sell your revenue. And this is coming from QuickBooks. This would be like a key metric that any SaaS company would be looking at. This is, it effectively tells you what your gross margin is across your business. We've got our cash balance here. This is connected to our bank account. So this would tell us what our actual cash balance is in any given month as a startup, which is really important as you manage your burn. And then you might have something like, a visitor, your top of funnel metrics. So you're looking at how many visitors came to our marketing site every month, how many leads did we generate? And this is connected to our Google Analytics instance. This is connected to our Snowflake instance. And so you'll see that all here, right? Like this is our QuickBooks connected to our P&L. This is our Mercury account. This is connected via Plaid, but you can see all of our bank account details. You can see Snowflake. This is me using the query builder to connect to Snowflake. I can run these queries manually. I can put them on a schedule. You'll see a Stripe query here. This is a more complex SQL query. And so you'll see Equals is really the only data tool out there that lets you connect to multiple different data sources all in one workbook. I can come here, refresh all my connections at the same time, and have data just streaming directly into Equals and into all my analyses. So that's a summary of how you'd work in Equals. The last thing I'll show you here is just something that we're launching next week. So I'll give you a sneak preview here. This is the last component of Equals, where you can start to build what we call dashboards. So you can come in here and we could call this like our startup dashboard. And I can build a fully functioning dashboard. So I can come in here and say, okay, now I've got my ARR from all I did was select different charts that were on different tabs. I've got my ARR. Here I can actually select a table. So we could come here and say, I'm actually going to pull in our full ARR build here. Let's add this to our dashboard. We could maybe before that, let's actually insert, let's add in our 3 top of funnel charts. Okay. And then we could ask, we'll ask AI to pull in a little summary on revenue for us. So let's get it to generate, GPT-4 will generate a little summary for us of our ARR metrics. Now, here's a little dashboard that I built. I can download this as a PDF and share it with folks if I wanted to. But where Equals really stands out is I can share this with somebody just like I would in Google Sheets. I could share not only read-only access or edit-only access, but I can share dashboard-only access. So I can give them access to the dashboard, but they can't change any of my underlying model. They can't break a formula. They can't insert a row somewhere, have things go awry. They just have access to the dashboard itself. And then the other thing you can do here is you can publish this dashboard to different places on a schedule. So right now what we support is you can publish dashboards into Slack, into email, into Google Slides on an hourly, on a daily, or a weekly basis. And so if I wanted to say, for example, add this to Slack, I could put this into our, go-to-market metrics channel. And this is, this would publish every week, Monday at midnight. We could pick a different time. And so the whole idea here is you've got a spreadsheet to build your analyses. It's connected to all the places where your data lives. So you can automate that work. And then you can have an auto updating dashboard that gets sent out to the places where stakeholders are making decisions, which is usually the hardest. It's the part that the analyst spends the least amount of time kind of focused on, but is actually one of the most important parts of an analyst's job, is getting the information to folks in a timely way to help drive accountability, to help drive action in the business.
Wow, that is awesome, first of all. And I totally see what you mean earlier when you said that you were just so energized by starting Equals and you didn't want to take that other offer. Because as soon as I asked you to demo, I saw like your eyes light up and your energy like increase. Like I love the excitement you have. That's amazing. Everyone who's tuning in right now, drop an emoji in the chat about what you thought of that demo, or if you have any questions, let us know what you're thinking and how you're feeling about it. I think this comment really sums it up super well. So you're able to integrate all these different data sources into one location. And then I also love the scheduled capabilities as well. So being able to schedule out Slack alerts, I think that's so important, because as a data analyst, I'm always having to like pull fresh data and going through all these like manual processes to get data to the stakeholders. So being able to automate that is huge.
Yeah. I mean, this is the tool that I wish I'd had. This is, this is the tool that I felt like was missing for me in my Intercom journey. And really excited to get in front of folks.
That's awesome. So how do you feel about like starting from an IC in financial analytics. How do you think that prepared you and helped you build Equals?
Yeah, it's given me all of the basis upon which Equals is founded. For me, I got to be the person that I'm selling to. And so in a lot of ways, how would I describe this? It was a journey that I was supposed to have. It was a job. They were all the jobs that I was supposed to have to lead into Equals, and all the things that I learned as a finance analyst and building finance at Intercom were the things that both gave me made me live the problems of the thing that we're trying to solve with Equals, which now has enabled me to really kind of build a product that resonates with people and helps them in a certain way. But it also, helped me see what it's like to build a company, to build the connections that I needed to build, to be able to, my co-founder was Intercom's first employee, and that's how I got to know him, as being in the position that I was in and working with him. And so that opened up the opportunity to start Equals. And then I got to know all of our investors through my Intercom journey. And being in finance did that too, because I was interacting and interfacing with them. So I say that all as a way of saying, the job that you're in will lead to the next job. Trust that. Do the best that you can in the current job that you're in, and it'll open up opportunities. 10 years ago, I was not thinking about starting Equals. Equals just emerged from the 10 years that I had building finance teams, building analyses, being an analyst myself, living those pains. If you want to start your own company one day, keep doing the things that you're doing and go back to the overheard list. Like, keep a list of all the problems that you have in your job today, and maybe you'll be able to solve that in a company in the future for yourself.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Super awesome advice there. We have this question, HubSpot question mark. So I'm assuming this person wants to know if there's a HubSpot integration.
For sure. Yeah, HubSpot's one of our most popular integrations. You can connect directly to HubSpot. We've got a template I know that pulls in full funnel view directly out of HubSpot almost instantaneously. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Glad to hear about HubSpot. And then we have, what is the difference that is making it stand out? I think they want to know, what is the difference between Equals and a different spreadsheet?
Yeah. So two things. It's connected to all the places where your data lives. So you can natively connect Equals to, you can write SQL in it. You can connect to Salesforce, Stripe, QuickBooks, HubSpot, any of the kind of modern SaaS tools out there we connect to. And so you can automatically pull in data. I didn't show in the demo, but all of your charts and tables as new data comes in automatically update as well. So when we detect like a new week's worth of data, a new day's worth of data, a new year's worth of data, whatever it is, we automatically update your charts for you, which allow you to not have to do a lot of the manual work that you have to do today in Excel and Sheets. And then lastly, we let you push your analyses into, right now we're starting with Slack, email, Google Slides. But you can build dashboards and have that sent out to the places where your teams are working without having to do that yourself.
That is amazing. I think the dashboard component is super cool. I am a Power BI user. I haven't used Power BI in like a year and a half, I think now, but it is a pain to kind of be in the development side of things. You have to develop everything, and then it takes forever to like push everything live and publish it. Like, it would take hours to go through that entire process. You have to make one change to a formula or a chart, publish it, wait for it to load, and then the data has to refresh. Like, that was a whole entire half day process. So I think the dashboard component is so cool. I love live cloud products. I love having things quickly and instantly. And I love updated data. So I love a lot of stuff there, but I think one thing I do want to point out too is the permissions on the Equals dashboard. I also love that stakeholders can't go edit everything under the hood. So you can give them access to just view the dashboard and that's it. So all your formulas aren't going to be messed up or anything.
Yep.
That's what stood
Been
out
there.
to me as a data analyst.
I've been there. Yeah, you share share a spreadsheet with somebody, and then you get it back, and you're like, "Hold on, this doesn't look like the one that I sent them."
Yeah, no. We use Google Sheets at Crunchbase, and I'm always so careful because everything we do is like in the cloud, and then we have like 20 people working in the same
Yeah,
sheet, and it's very stressful because you change like one cell, and then like five others change, and I'm like, oh no, what have I done?
totally.
Um, One more thing I wanted to dig into, and again, if anyone has any questions, you can drop them in the chat. I've posted the links to Bobby's LinkedIn profile and a link to Equals if you want to sign up for a demo and learn more. So go check those out. But one thing I do want to dig into a little bit more is you mentioned that Equals has a capability where you can write SQL to pull in the queries. And I think everybody on LinkedIn knows how much I love SQL, but a lot of people don't love SQL, or they might not have that technical skill set to be able to write SQL. So can you talk about the capabilities Equals has to pull in data without having to have a big SQL technical background?
Yeah. So I'm with you, Jess. Like I think folks should get more and more comfortable with SQL. I think it's not only is it a way to be able to self-serve your own data and answer questions more quickly on your own, but I also think it gives you just a much more fundamental understanding of how your company and business works when you actually understand how the tables are structured and how things work, the guts kind of underneath it all work. That said, we do recognize that a lot of folks are still kind of early in their days and learning SQL and at different levels of comfort with it. So we have you can write SQL, but we also have a visual query builder. So the way that works is you can pick any table that you want to from a SQL database. You can then select any columns that you want to, and then you can join. All this was with just an interface. You can then join other columns from other tables. And we explain to you like kind of what a left join, an inner join, a right join is, but you can do that within the Equals interface. And then you can join as many tables as you want and build, pretty complex queries using our, non-SQL query builder. We find that Equals tends to be a nice bridge for people that don't know SQL but want to learn SQL, because you can experiment with the query builder, then you can transition over to writing your own SQL. And then as you do so, you can also use, if you're comfortable with spreadsheets, you can use pivot tables, you can use VLOOKUPs, you can use index matches or some of this. You can use all your spreadsheet formulas to kind of hack around things that you might not otherwise know how to do in SQL. So if you're trying to do aggregations, you can do it using your spreadsheet formula as opposed to doing that in SQL. So we just find it as a nice bridge for people that want to get more proficient in SQL, but aren't quite there yet.
Cool. And we do have a few questions, but we're getting pretty close on time. So this is a question I have, but how transferable do you think it is to learn Equals for people who are currently using Excel or Google Sheets?
It's meant to be, you pick it up and it's right out of the box. I mean, we have a Google Sheets importer is how simple it is. Like you can take a Google Sheets file and import it directly into Equals and it'll work. And so again, the whole idea here is if you know how to Excel, if you know how to Google Sheet, you know how to Equals. The only thing that you have to learn with Equals is how each of the connections, how to pull in data from each of the data sources. But that also works, like say, for example, our QuickBooks instance, you can pull in any report that you've already built in QuickBooks directly into Equals. It'll just show up in that query builder. So some integrations are easier to learn than others.
That's awesome. And I can attest to, as someone who has used Equals, it was extremely simple to set up. I am a technical dummy when it comes to setting up technical stuff. Like I'm not good at like setup stuff at all, but it was like super easy. I did it in like 5 minutes. Okay. We have this question. So where can someone find a list of all the different integrations that Equals is integrated with?
So if you go to equals.com and then you go to, I think it's equals.com/integrations, you'll see a list of all of the integrations that we support there. NetSuite is one of them. So we do connect to NetSuite. There's an accounting section here. So NetSuite, Xero, QuickBooks. Those are the accounting platforms. Then we have Plaid, Stripe for other finance folks.
Awesome. And then we have this question. Do we have advanced analytics features on Equals?
Not yet. So if you're looking for, like a regression build or like a solver or data tables, for example, that's not something that we yet have in Equals, but the team is shipping really fast, and these we're getting much closer to parity with Excel. So those will be coming soon, just not yet.
That's awesome. All right. Do you want to give everyone one final thing that you want them to remember and take away today about Equals, and then tell people where they can find you or more information about Equals after this live?
Yeah. With Equals, the thing that the main takeaway is if you know how to spreadsheet, you know how to Equals, and it's the only data tool out there right now that lets you connect to all of your data wherever it is and work with it all in the same place and automate your analyses. And then check out our launch on Tuesday. We're doing a massive launch. It's going to be, I've already given you a preview of it, but Dashboards is going live for all prospects and all new customers starting on Tuesday. You can follow us along on, we're at Hey Equals on Twitter. You can go to our Equals LinkedIn page, or of course you can follow me, just Bobby Pinero, at Twitter and LinkedIn. I'll be posting about that launch and then all of our product updates moving forward. So if you want to follow along, please do.
That is awesome. And I'll be posting about the launch for Equals too. So if you forget to follow Equals and Bobby today, you can also see it on my page next week. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm excited to see how many people showed up and were engaged. And I genuinely hope everyone learned something today. And feel free to reach out to me or Bobby if you have any questions. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.